Well, hello everyone and welcome. My name is Emma Davis. I'm the enrollment coach. As all three of our attendees right now know, you all had a conversation with me. And welcome, Hannah. I know you as well. Um, so we've all talked about whether this program is the right fit for you, and that's my job to work with you through your application process and as you consider the data science and human behavior program. Um, we have these program pop-ins to help you get more information about the program and meet some of our faculty and staff. And today, our final program pop-in of the year, we're going to be talking about how would you best prepare to start this program in the fall. Maybe you're not even sure if you're going to come here yet. Maybe you haven't even finished your application, but maybe you are already admitted and committed to coming and thinking about what does this summer look like for you? What do the next few months look like for you as you prepare to be successful in the program? I'm going to let our other hosts here today introduce themselves. We're joined by Dr. Caitlin Roa, and I'll throw it over to her first.
Hello, I'm Caitlin Roa. I'm the program manager for this program and for the Data Science and Human Behavior Master's program. And if you guys came to this program, I would be working very closely with you on your capstone projects. And there's a whole lot of information I could talk about that, but I'm going to pause there and let Adam introduce himself.
Hello, my name is Dr. Adam Ross Nelson, and I teach three classes in the program. I teach the first semester programming course, which covers a full range of programming topics, computer programming topics. We focus on Python. I teach a reproducible scientific publishing course, and then I also teach tools for large-scale data science. And the tools for large scale data science class is a class where we take a grand tour of a full range of tools that you are likely to experience in further graduate education after the DSHB program or in a professional role after graduation.
Great. Well, thanks for introducing yourselves. We have some questions for you today, Adam. Caitlin, did you want to just ask Adam those or go back and forth?
We
How would
can
you like?
pepper in. I'll ask the
Okay,
first one. So,
great.
and then I can help answer this one too, if Adam, if there's something else that we want to share. So, Adam, what what do we do to prepare students for this program?
The first thing that comes to mind is the summer series of webinars for admitted students. And I don't think we have the exact schedule for that yet, but last year I know we had a full schedule of topics that included everything from the pragmatics associated with choosing what kind of computer to buy, or even choosing should you buy a computer, because you don't even necessarily need to do that. Then we also cover topics that are designed to help you decide, are you going to read ahead a little bit? Are you going to brush up on something that you've previously studied in anticipation of hitting the books again? And also we talk, I think, a lot about the uh, we have an opportunity to talk about the personal aspects associated with either continuing your education or returning to school. Because for some folks, that transition, well, for everyone, that transition looks very different. And some of you are moving, maybe moving across the country or the world, and some of you are maybe just driving down the road in order to get started with the data science and human behavior program. I'd actually like to put, and this may speak a little bit ahead. This effort that we put forth to help students get ready for the program is just one of the many examples of how intentional we are. So one of the great strengths of the program that I'll talk about is we teach both R and Python. You can't finish this program without knowing both languages really well. And that was one of the very intentional choices about how this program was built and designed. And it mirrors, or maybe it shows a continued, consistent, sustained, very thoughtful effort to what we provide, how we provide it, when we provide it, the sequence in which we provide it, etc. And actually this is for sure a question that I know Caitlin has to weigh in on because Caitlin is the one who ultimately plans the summer preparations. I know I participate in them, but I just show up. I show up when and where I'm told, and then I do my best to help folks out.
Thanks, Adam. So I'll just add to that. When you do decide, like, so the way that it works with applications get submitted, and then we give you an offer, and then you accept. And once you accept, sometime in around May, I think, is when I send out a survey. And it's basically just to give you a chance to let us know your familiarity with a bunch of different concepts in the in like computational literacy and statistical modeling and statistical just statistics and in programming. And then based on what you say you are familiar with or have no experience with, then we give you tutorials that you can. So some people are super eager, right? You have time in the summer, you're transitioning, you want to brush up on skills before you get to Madison, whatever that looks like. And so we give you sort of like highly recommend to optional tutorials that will help. It's sort of self-paced. So you can go through them at your leisure. And then we also have a boot camp during welcome week. So that's the week before school classes start, where we go through everything that you might need to know, downloading that right application so that you don't show up to class and have to download an application in order to use it. Um, all the things that you might need to know before we go into classes. So,
I've
um,
I should have
yeah.
mentioned that survey because Caitlin knows this. I scrutinize the results of that survey very closely, and I look at how it changes over time, and I change and update the my approach to the class based on the results that I see in those surveys. We've actually made, I think, some significant strides in enhancing sequence, particularly how we sequence the core, well, at least the programming course, based on how those surveys, what those surveys have taught us about predictors of success. So we practice what we preach here in the data science and human behavior program. We know how to predict what factors will show potential success down the road, and then we find a way to make sure that we provide those specific factors for students to do well.
Thanks, Adam. Should we jump to the next question? Um, what foundational technical skills do you recommend that students focus on strengthening over that summer before starting the program? I think you touched on this a bit, maybe a little more detail.
I did touch on it a little bit, and I thought really hard about this question because I didn't want to give the impression that you have to cram for this
Mm,
program. In fact, the opposite is the case. We do a very good job of meeting students where you are in that boot camp and that first couple weeks of the semester. So my advice is we selected you, like if you're admitted, we selected you for your skills and strengths. So my advice is brush up on your existing skills and strength, brush up on your past coursework. So whatever that means, some of you will have had a semester or two of statistics. Go back and brush up on that. Re Find that textbook and review it. Find your notes and review it. Find your projects and review it. But maybe not everybody has had as much statistics, and some of you really focused on other items. Perhaps you were fortunate enough to study some programming, even in high school, perhaps. So go back and review those previous learning exercises. Look at your notes, look at your assignments, look at your quizzes. And my advice, as I said, I thought hard about this. I don't think preparing for the DSHP program does or should require, definitely doesn't require, and I don't think it should require. Like, I don't think we would implement this kind of requirement because it's antithetical to our approach. It doesn't require cramming a bunch of new information before you
mm.
get here. It just requires bringing the information that you represented on your application. So really focus on that, bring that and work hard on that and you'll do fine. That being said, um, I will say once you get here, the learning curve is steep. So prepare for that, right? Spend the summer learning or not learning, spend the summer reinforcing your previous learning. And then when you get here, be prepared to learn quick because it will be a lot of information and it will be a steep learning curve. But we have a ton of supports. And actually, I'll pause here because I know we're going to talk about some of this in a moment. We have a ton of supports that are designed to help you climb, to continue the analogy, really climb that steep learning curve.
Yeah,
Thanks, Adam.
yeah,
Go
thank
ahead,
you, Adam.
Caitlin.
I was just looking at the second question. I was like, oh, I think you're sort of answering it. So let's start this off. So, how important is prior experience with programming or statistical software for success in the first semester? I'm having a really hard time with S words. Anyway, and what level of familiarity tends to make the transition smoother? Another S word. Sorry. You
Sure.
want me to say that again, or you got it?
No, I think I got it. So, how
Good.
important is programming? Or how important is statistical software for success? We assume nothing about your prior knowledge in programming. Now, for those of you who do have some existing knowledge in programming, please don't take that as an annoyance. Instead of having to think about this, instead of having to relearn a programming class that you might have taken in previous coursework, this is an opportunity to strengthen, enhance, reinforce that previous learning. And then if you have had no programming experience, we start on day one with what is a programming language? What is it? What does it mean to write a computer program? What is this thing called Python? And why do we work with Python when we're in psychology and not zoology? Right? Like we talk very carefully about all of that on day one. That being said, if you're curious, I don't want to squelch your curiosities. There's so much opportunity to learn a little bit of programming over the course of the summer. If you want to, by all means, indulge. And then actually going back to that survey, Caitlin, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there a measure of individualization? Don't you go student by student and then provide individualized recommendations? Yeah. So if we happen to see that you ranked yourself, it's a self-assessment. If we happen to see that you assessed yourself as someone who is new to programming or very new to programming, Caitlin will provide you with very specific targeted resources that are designed to help you, if you choose to avail yourself of those.
And I just wanted to pepper in that, so Adam's been talking about the steep learning curve. It is certainly steep. However, we have lots of support along the way. So let's say the first couple knowledge checks or quizzes that you have in the beginning of the year, if for some reason you stumble a little bit on those, we then set you up with one-on-one tutoring, or in group studies if that's something that you're more comfortable with, just so that you can make sure that you're getting all of the support that you need to be successful.
Yeah, that I've already, Caitlin doesn't know this. I spoke with next year's TA already, and we are shifting from a discussion section, weekly discussion session to an intermittent discussion session. And on alternate weeks, I'm pretty sure this is the model. On alternate weeks, we're going to have individualized tutoring. And I will, based on those knowledge checks, so it might sound intimidating that we do quizzes or knowledge checks very early on, but they're low stakes. They don't damage your grade. There's plenty of opportunity to recover in the grade book. What they're designed to do is help us identify what kind of tutoring you need, and we will assign you to specific tutoring. And the clever thing about doing it during uh, the formerly discussion section is that it's already on your schedule. So it's not an additional time commitment on your part. It's not an additional time commitment on our part. We've just restructured the time that we have together, to make sure that you get exactly in a very individualized way in most cases what you need. The other thing I'd point out is this is an innovation that we just implemented last year and we will continue with this year. So we revised the programming course to include, well, this coming fall, it's going to have structured tutoring time, a 1 week, once per week lecture, hour and a quarter, and then weekly, there's a workshop, which isn't, help me out, is it 2 hours and 40 minutes, Caitlin? It's like almost 3 hours. So in that 2 hours and 40 minutes, You work. And I'm there, your peers are there, and your TA is there, and you're doing actual projects in class. My philosophy is I try to devote as much class time as possible to homework and work. You have to, don't hear me wrong, you do have to study up on your own outside of class, but we try to put a lot of that in class as much as possible. So you do get, well, I hope I've made my point. You get lots of support.
And it
Yeah.
sounds like we have very similar teaching philosophies from my former life. Like, why would I send you
Okay.
home with homework when we can be
Yeah,
doing the work
exactly.
right here?
Well, that and honestly, a lot of times, especially in our first couple of years of doing this program, we found that people were taking hours to figure out where to even start on the homework. And it's like, let's reduce that barrier by just making like start it now. And then if you have
Mhm.
questions, you can go to Adam, you can go to the
Mm,
TA, you can go to your peers, like you said. And so that it reduces that barrier to even get started. Because some people were saying that they were taking 20, 30 hours to do their homework assignments. And that's just
That's not right.
we want you to be doing the work, not be struggling for that long before um, getting that knowledge to sink in.
yeah. Yeah, students who are coming in this cohort are really benefiting from all the knowledge you all have learned over the past few years. And I know some of you who are our attendees today have heard me say this already, so I apologize for being redundant, but you're not being selected for this program because of your advanced technical skills. It's because of your work ethic, your passion for the topic, and the potential that uh, the admissions committee sees in you. So wonderful. So thinking, I think, more globally about this, maybe it's about grad school as a whole, even beyond the technical stuff, but what challenges do students most commonly encounter when they first start the program? And how
Mm.
can incoming students prepare over the summer to navigate those challenges?
My thought on this is that you can't forget that coming into the DSHB, whether you're coming directly from undergrad, whether you're coming from another graduate program, or whether you've had some time off for professional career, this is a transition. And transitions, it's a big transition. Transitions in life are hard. And unlike some of the earlier transitions in your life, maybe from high school to college, you had all kinds of support, siblings, parents, aunts and uncles, grandparents, perhaps. Not everybody, but many people have those kinds of supports. Also, some of the best colleges and universities are providing very structured support for that transition to high school to college. The transition into the DSHB program, though we do a lot, is different. Your parents and friends and family and cousins and aunts and uncles and grandparents are going to say things like, "Oh, so and so has this. Um, Caitlin made it great from high school to college. She's going to go great into this DSHB program." And friends and family and parents and grandparents and aunts and uncles will take it for granted that you're good at making these kind of transitions, and they might not provide the kind of supports that you were accustomed to in previous life transitions. So keep that in mind. That's a big
Hmm.
challenge. Another item I would point out is this program is different than many undergraduate programs and many graduate programs. And I won't go into the specifics of how and why it's different, at least not yet. Maybe we'll get to it during Q&A or there's another question. But what I have is sort of a catchy phrase. What got you here will not get you there. And for many students, let me say that again. What got you here will not get you there. For many students in this program, I re uh, every year I have students tell me, "Oh, I've had to relearn how to study." Or the study strategies that worked for me at my last degree are not working in this degree. And so the big challenge is building a new set of study habits, a new set of study strategies, a new set of study tactics that you're completely unaccustomed to. And if you don't show up with a willingness to, again, do new things, what got you here is not going to get you there. If you don't show up with a willingness to learn new study strategies, new tactics, new techniques, new habits, you will struggle. And it's okay to struggle because we're going to help you out with that. Um, Struggling is part of the learning process as well. Um, and consequently, that's one of the reasons that I believe tutoring is going to become individual tutoring attention is going to become more and more important in this program and probably other programs as well, is because one of the things we can do in tutoring that we can't necessarily do in a larger group is teach you those individual study tactics and study strategies. Tutoring itself is a study tactic and strategy as well. And for some, here, let me put it, this will put it in perspective. There are students this year who never, they're straight A students this year for most of their academic career who never went to tutoring in their life and then didn't do well on the first quiz and all of a sudden had to go to tutoring. And then across the board, 100% universally said, wow, this has made a difference for me and said thank you. And we said, of course, well, that's what we're here for. But that might be a trend. That might be another struggle, right? We might ask you to go to tutoring, and it might be a threat to your ego. Be like, I've never been to tutoring in my life. If that happens to you, please don't take that as a sign that we doubt you or lack confidence in you. Take it as a sign that we're seeing an opportunity to help you, and we're going to be, what's the word? We're going to be insistent and persistent about getting you to those tutoring sessions. They're not optional. If I send you to tutoring, it's not optional, but you will benefit from it. And if you don't, you can tell me, and I can make this promise because I suspect everybody finds it beneficial. But if for some reason you didn't find the tutoring session or sessions beneficial, you can tell me and I will re-engineer, or Caitlin and I will work together. We'll find a way to re-engineer the tutoring experience for you.
Caitlin, did you want to add anything there? I have some thoughts too. Where you go?
No, I guess the only thing I was going to add was like to echo everything that Adam just said, but then also, when you transition from high school to college, most of your peers are also doing that. When you
Oh, that's a good
transition
point.
into graduate school, I would, definitely not a cohort, right? So the cohort that you meet while you're here is, um, they're going to feel like family for a year and a half at least. And so we do a lot in community building and social events in the early parts of the program, so that sort of because another thing that students have been telling me again and again is that if they didn't have their study group, that they wouldn't have made it through this program, because the peer mentoring is invaluable. So is the PhD mentoring and tutoring, as well as all of the mentoring from us, from the teachers and faculty. So I'm going to leave it there. Emma, I know you had something else.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I had a similar grad school experience that was very fast-paced. It's an accelerated
Hmm.
graduate school at Brown, and it moves so quickly. And I was someone that got kind of lonely, even though I had a cohort, just got kind of overwhelmed and drowning. And that is the very last thing that anyone in this program wants is for you to come and say, everything's happening too quickly. I'm not finding my people. I'm not finding my support. So just make sure that you are asking for help, even if it's emailing me and like, Emma, I don't know what to do in Madison. I can't figure out the buses. I'm so lost. That's, we just want you to feel like you are having a fast 18 months here that is a really fulfilling and productive experience for you.
Okay, so I'm going to go off script a little bit for this next question. And I just wanted to address a thing that feels very pressing, and we'll just and then we'll open up for questions. But I just wanted to say that there's a lot of talk about AI taking over jobs, and our program has responded to this in several ways. But I just want to take a moment to bring this up and hear your thoughts, Adam. So this program will prepare students for an AI-shaped world. AI can analyze patterns in data, but it does not understand human context, motivation, ethics, or meaning. So DSHB graduates are trained in data science and the human behavior and can ask meaningful questions, interpret results, glean valuable insights. So AI, again, will produce outputs, but we will always need humans to translate these results into meaningful insights, and be informed decision makers rather than passive AI users. And so I just wanted to see if Adam, you have anything, any thoughts on that or anything to add to that before we then open it up to questions.
I'm looking very hard at, as I have been now for a while, at folding in responsible use of generative artificial intelligence into the programming class, the reproducible scientific publishing class, and also the large scale data science class. We Every program is grappling with this right now. And the smart programs, I believe, are finding ways, like I said, to fold in generative AI into the experience. And my thoughts are currently in transition on this. So I'm punting a little bit on a full answer here. Um, but I'm so glad you brought this up. And actually, during the Q&A, if anybody has questions on this, ask again or ask in a different way, and I'll be happy to speak. I know I'd be happy to speak a little bit further, even especially if we can speak more open-endedly.
Hmm. Caitlin, do you want me to loop back to this question seven or move forward into our Q&A?
I
We could
think
do
Q&A, I
seven.
think we covered
Oh,
it.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, what did you say? Adam,
I
what
was
was your
thinking we
vote?
could do a little bit about, well, seven was beyond technical preparation. How do you start thinking about research questions, data sets, etc. And I I guess you're right. We did cover that. We'll point basically to the study materials, customized, individualized studying materials that we can send you once you've been admitted
Hmm.
and send us your self-assessment.
Great. Well, I will just say you can unmute here, or if you aren't comfortable with that, drop your message in the chat. I am monitoring that for questions. Um, and we are happy to answer any questions you might have that haven't already been answered. Have a great rest of your
Thanks,
workday, Hannah.
thanks,
Thank you for
Hannah. Enjoy the
coming.
day.
If we get silence, I'm always glad that we've been comprehensive, but don't want to make don't want to miss any questions. Is anyone typing right now and I'm missing your typing? Okay, great. Thank you, Shavit. So glad to see that. Um, I know all of you already, so I'm not even going to share my contact info in our chat here. You all know how to email me and call me if you have follow-up questions. We are 20 days away from the application deadline, which is quite a bit of time really to get an application started. So if you are still struggling with yours, if you need support in any way, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'm happy to support. Any final thoughts, Adam or Caitlin?
I just put my contact information in the chat. I would say if you do copy me, please also email Emily or Caitlin. It's nice when there's a group thread because then you can benefit from our combined wisdom.
We're all very wisdomous, as Joey Tribbiani says.
Well, I suppose I could also just say I really look forward to meeting some of you folks in person this fall and or this summer. Please do reach out if you have any questions.
Wonderful. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.